Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into something really fundamental, hugely impactful, but often kind of overlooked in personal finance, your money mindset.
Exactly.
Our sources here, they give this really direct self-help guide on how your thoughts, your feelings about money, they directly shape your financial decisions.
Right. And ultimately, your long-term success. It's fascinating because it's so much more than just numbers on a spreadsheet, isn't it?
Totally.
This deep dive really shows how our money choices are, well, they're deeply rooted in emotions, habits, and our past experiences. Think about how you were raised talking about money, or maybe not talking about it.
Or if you were told it's hard to come by.
Precisely. Or maybe a big financial mistake you made once. The sources stress that sometimes one really strong memory, it can just wipe out years of good financial habits.
Wow. Okay.
So we'll explore how to spot those origins, understand why you make certain choices, and then the important part, how to actually move forward, how to steer things differently.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. We're actually going to walk you through challenging those, often unconscious limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Thoughts like, I'll never be rich, or, I'm just bad with money.
Those whispers in your head.
Exactly. And the sources show how these aren't just thoughts. They can actually trigger, fear centers in your brain.
Making rational choices way harder.
Right. Then we'll pivot to setting really effective SMART goals.
Yeah.
Moving beyond just wishing.
Yeah, vague wishes don't cut it.
To specific targets, like I will save X amount each month or pay off this card by December.
Concrete steps.
And finally, discovering how building those consistent, really small money habits, checking your budget weekly, saving a tiny bit from each paycheck.
A tiny thing.
How they can lead to huge changes over time. It's all about building, step by step towards that financial freedom.
Building momentum.
So let's start with those limiting beliefs. The sources say identifying where they come from is step one. But how do we even, start digging those up?
That's the real deep dive part, isn't it? The guide suggests looking for patterns. Often they are rooted in childhood.
Okay.
Were you told money's evil or always scarce? But a key insight the sources bring up is how one single really emotional financial event, maybe someone in the family went bankrupt, or you lived through a big market crash that can disproportionately shape your entire outlook for decades.
Right. More than all the good times combined, almost.
Way more sometimes. It gets lodged in there.
Okay, so we find the pattern, maybe the root event. Then what? How do the sources say we challenge them? Because it sounds easy, but changing lifelong beliefs, that feels huge.
It absolutely can feel huge. And the sources aren't just saying, repeat positive mantras into the mirror.
Right, not just affirmations.
No. They emphasize a process more like cognitive restructuring. So if your belief is, I'm bad with money, you consciously ask yourself, okay, what's the specific evidence for that? When have I actually made a smart choice, even a small one? It's about actively reframing that story you tell yourself using facts.
Finding counter evidence.
Exactly. Even small wins count.
Yeah.
And then you incrementally replace the old thought with a new empowering one like, okay, I can learn this. I can make smart choices.
So you're kind of retraining your brain.
Pretty much. You're building new neural pathways, making those fear centers less dominant over time.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
It's practical. So, okay, we start reframing beliefs. What's the very next step the sources point to for, tangible progress? Sounds like goals are key.
Absolutely paramount. The guide really unpacks the power of SMART goals. Specific, measurable,
achievable, relevant,
and time-bound. That T, the time-bound part, is super crucial. Our sources really hammer this home. Without a deadline, a goal is basically just a wish.
It's floating out there.
Yeah. And a common trap is setting deadlines that are either way too ambitious, so you burn out, or they're too vague, so you just keep putting it off forever. Procrastination kicks in.
Okay, so how do we make them really achievable and time-bound? Is there a specific method the sources suggest for someone who, struggles with that?
Yes. They recommend something called backward planning.
Backward planning.
Yeah. Instead of just picking a future date, you picture the deadline, say, paying off that credit card by December. Then you work backward from there.
Okay.
Break it down into smaller, manageable chunks. What needs to happen each month, each week? Working backward makes the big goal feel less scary.
Right. Less overwhelming.
And it clearly shows you the immediate actions you need to take now. Like, okay, this week I need to save $125 to stay on track. That small, consistent action feels doable.
That's a really powerful way to look at it, breaking it down backwards, which leads us perfectly into the whole idea of building consistent small money habits. How do the sources guide us on weaving these tiny actions into daily life?
This is where the real magic happens, according to the guide. It champions consistency over intensity. Forget the massive, painful overhaul. It's all about micro habits. So not just check your budget weekly, but something specific like every Sunday morning, right after my coffee, I'll spend 10 minutes on my budgeting app.
Attaching it to something you already do.
Exactly. That's called habit stacking. Or every time I get paid, the very first thing I do is auto-transfer 1% to savings. Make it almost effortless. Reduce the friction.
Friction reduction, I like that.
Yeah. The sources emphasize that these small, repeatable actions tap into the power of compound interest, not just financially, but for building discipline, too. You're rewiring your habits.
Building that consistency muscle.
Precisely. So if we sort of zoom out and connect this all, this deep dive really shows that changing your money mindset, it's a journey, right? Not a one-time fix.
Definitely not overnight.
It's about empowering yourself. First, understand your beliefs, where they came from, then actively let go of the limiting ones by reframing them with evidence. Then set those really clear, smart, goal-specific, measurable, all that.
Working backwards to make them achievable.
Yes. And then finally, build those healthy, small, consistent habits. The guide really stresses that doing the right thing, often, even in tiny ways, is way more powerful than one big heroic effort now and then.
So what does this all mean for you listening? I think the real takeaway here is that you absolutely do have the power to improve your financial future.
Takes patience, yeah?
And consistency.
Definitely takes work.
But the rewards of understanding your mindset and building these habits, they're immeasurable, really. Start small, keep at it, and believe you can grow.
And maybe this leaves us with an important question to ponder. We know that short-term sacrifices, that consistent effort, it leads to long-term freedom.
Right.
So thinking about that, what's one specific consistent money habit, no matter how small it seems right now, that you could commit to starting today? Something you know would actively move you towards where you want to be, say, 5 years from now?